What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the Ratcave. It's Ratzi for DJKit, and today I'm looking at Shock the System. Pioneer DJ have just dropped another battle mixer. This one is called the DJM-S5. So if you already know about the DJM-S7 and the bigger DJM-S11, I'm sure that you can imagine where this DJM-S5 sits amongst that mixer range. This is, of course, the more kind of entry level or the lower price battle mixer from Pioneer DJ. So first and foremost here, I just want to say that this DJM-S5 that I've got here in this video is actually the sample unit. So big up to Pioneer DJ for letting me have a little play on it. And also the Serato version that I'm using it with is also the beta version because I'm filming this before the release. So here it is then, the brand new Pioneer DJ DJM-S5. And of course, the first thing that kind of pops out at you is this two-tone colorway that Pioneer DJ have gone for. It almost looks like it's already been sort of customized skinned. But you've got black at the top with a bit of a red trim coming down here. And then of course the red section down here. And there is a quirky little see-through bit on the front, which I will get onto later. Now, as you can see from this mixer, it's got the Serato logo on it. The DJM-S5 is a Serato battle mixer. It works with Serato DJ Pro. I'm hoping that it's going to be dual compatible like the DJM-S7 and the DJM-S11 is, with record box as well as Serato. You know, for regular viewers, you'll know that I am a record box user mostly. So whenever something new like this comes out, I want to use it with record box, but this is Serato, fresh out the box on release. And for those of you asking, these two turntables that I've got here are the Pioneer DJ PLX 1000 flagship turntables, which I'm using in DVS mode with the Serato time-coded vinyl into this DJM-S5, into Serato DJ Pro over here. Now, the next thing which I need to talk about this mixer, which some of you may have noticed, this mixer is not connected to any power, like plug power. This mixer is completely bus powered by the laptop. So I've got this MacBook here. This MacBook isn't even plugged into any power itself. So this MacBook isn't on charge, but it's a USB-C to USB-C in the back of this DJM-S5. And the battery from the MacBook is enough power to power this mixer. So that is a massive thumbs up from me so far. Worth saying as well though, there is actually a second USB-C port on the back of this mixer if you do need to plug it into the wall. I mean, I'm assuming if you're going to be using this DJM-S5 not with a laptop, you know, just playing sort of normal vinyl with it, because you can use this with proper turntables, not in DVS mode. You can use it with CDJs and media players because it does have a line and phono input for each channel on the back. So let's take a look at the mixer itself. Now, along the top section here, everything is where you would expect it to be on a Pioneer DJ DJM-S kind of battle style mixer. So you've got the 3-band EQ with the high, mid and low here. Then to the left of that, you've got the filter, which is high pass that way and low pass that way. Above that, you've got the trim. And then over here, you've got the phono and line out, or the USB mode. Obviously, the same applies to this side here. Then in the middle, this is the master level here, which is your master volume. Then you've got the booth level here. And then you've got your loading buttons and your browsing knob. Now, if you double tap these load buttons, it does instant doubles in the software, which instant doubles is where, say, this tune here, if I then double tapped it over here, the same tune would load onto the other deck over here within the software, playing at the same speed. So that's really good for, you know, beat juggling and stuff like that, which is probably popular amongst the kind of DJs that are going to be using this kind of mixer. Now, as per the kind of standard with these battle mixers, you turn the effects on and off with these paddles here. And just to say on this S5, these paddles are the same size as the flagship Pioneer DJ DJM-S11 battle mixer. I'll get onto the effects in a minute, but we'll just move down here. So you've got the Mag Vel Fader Pro Crossfader, which feels really nice as it is, but you do actually have a feeling adjust on the front here, which has got a really nice quirky little see-through plastic, which it makes you, basically you can see the tightening and the loosening of the crossfader. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. It's not needed, but it is pretty cool, and it kind of goes with the whole quirkiness of the colorway of this DJM-S5. And speaking of the crossfaders, these channel faders or the volume faders here, these aren't Magvel Pro faders, but they are the same faders that are in the DJM-S7. Now then, onto the effects. So the buttons for the effects are pretty much where you would expect to see them on this DJM-S5, similar to the S11 and the S7. You've got 3 different buttons per side here, but they aren't dedicated, so it's not just 3 for this channel and just 3 for this one. All of these effects can be used either side. Now, these are all software effects. There's no built-in beat effects on this mixer to use when you're not using this with Serato or other software. But of course, all of these effects on here, because they're software effects, can be customized within Serato DJ Pro. And if you've got all of the expansion packs, that gives you access to 57 different effects, which you can put across these 6 buttons here. Now, as we've seen before on quite a lot of Pioneer DJ mixers and other equipment, there are secondary and in fact third options for these effects buttons. So to get to the secondary options, which is the little grayed out ones under here, you press Shift and the effect. So Shift and effects 1 takes you to the crossfader reverse. So that will reverse the crossfader. Shift and effects 2 is the crossfader curve. Shift and crossfader, Shift and effects 3, is another crossfader curve, and then Shift and effects number 1, but over this side is the crossfader hot cue, which is something which I am actually really impressed with. I don't think I've ever seen it before on a Pioneer DJM mixer before, at least. What that does is it basically, when you're playing your tune, it launches the song from whichever is the last hot cue that you press. So that is it. So then the song's still playing. You obviously can't hear it because the crossfader's over here. But then when I move the crossfader into what you can hear, it actually starts this again from the hot cue. So which, I mean, that's going to be really powerful for, you know, DJs, battle DJs with like fast hands and stuff, saves them hitting the hot cue that they want to launch. So then finally, the secondary options for these 2 buttons over here. So Shift and effects 2 over here takes you to user bank A, and Shift and this last button over here on the right takes you to user bank B. These are the banks that you can create in the utilities menu of the mixer, which you can load basically straight away, like a bank of effects that you use all the time. So if you want echo, reverb, all of that stuff, you can do 6 effects along here, so that they all load up when you hit Shift and bank A or Shift and bank B. So as I mentioned before, to turn these effects on, you use these paddles here. So effect number 1, that's called a particle delay, a software effect within Serato. A really cool thing about this DJM-S5, which we saw along the other DJM-S7 and DJM-S11, you can actually use more than one effect at the same time. And in fact, you can use actually all 6 of these software effects at the same time by just pressing them all. So let's do that. It's going to sound terrible, but I'll show you that it does work. So that's all 6 enabled, and then to turn it on, by the way, pulling this down, that's a momentary effect, and then putting it up, it locks on. Then in the middle here, you've got the beat parameters, so that changes the kind of, so that's on a half beat, that's on 1 beat, that's on a quarter, and that's on an 1/8, etc., etc. And then underneath that, you've got the level depth, which is how much of the effect you actually want applied to the song. Okay, so the third option for these buttons up here is a new feature on this DJM-S5 called the scratch cutter. Now, what the scratch cutter does is basically when you hit the effect and turn the effect on, it emulates the movement of the crossfader. It's something which we've seen before in different kind of variations across Pioneer DJ controllers and actually other mixers and stuff like that. But there's 6 different combos of the scratch cutter. And yeah, it basically emulates moving of the crossfader, so you don't have to do anything to the crossfader, you just have to move your scratch sample. So let's show you what that sounds like. So to access the scratch cutter, you press and hold the button here. As you can see, all of the buttons turn off here. So I have got cut number 1 enabled now. I've got a scratch sample on this deck over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this side on, turn on here. So that will then, so what that is doing, what that cut is basically cutting out the reverse of when I'm pulling the record backwards, it cuts out that sound. So you can only hear the record going forwards. Okay, so then what you can do as well is you can change the beat parameters, which makes the scratch cutter faster or slower. So that's cut number 1. Now, for example, let's go on to cut number 5 over here. So press and hold that. Sorry, that's just taking me back to the software effects. So now if I press and hold, there we go. So that's now, this is now on cut number 5. So I'll turn this on. So that's like a kind of click flare crossfader movement. Now the same, I've said this before about this kind of, it's not really a gimmick, but it's, you know, it's a fun little tool to have. It's really helpful for people who are trying to learn how to scratch, to, you know, maybe sort of turn on the scratch cutter, make that sound, and then try and sort of do it yourself on the crossfader. You do need to kind of find the sweet spot with the beat parameters here for it to kind of sound good with a beat playing. So, I mean, yeah, you know, a lot of fun and really good for the learning curve on actually how to recreate those scratches yourself. Now, last but not least, let's move on to look at the performance pads on this DJM-S5. As you can see here, only 4 pads per channel. The DJM-S7 and the DJM-S11 has, of course, 8 pads, but these are nice size pads. And then up here, you've got the button to take you from bank 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6, 7, 8. So even though there are only 4 buttons here with this, which is basically a page select, you can access the other 4. When the light is lit up, that's when you're on the second page. When the light is off, that's when you're on your first page. Now, even though there are only 4 physical pads on this mixer, and actually I should say at this point, they are made out of plastic. They're not rubber pads like the S7 and S11, but there are actually 13 different pad modes squeezed onto this DJM-S5. And that is because of this mode button here and the shift button. So to show you how this works, I'm going to use pad 1 over here, and then everything that I do on pad 1 obviously correlates through to the other pads here. So pad mode number 1 over on this pad over here is hot cue. So to get to hot cue, you press mode and pad number 1 here. So now we are in hot cue mode. That's my first hot cue. Now to get to the secondary option on pad number 1, you press mode and double tap. And now we're on gate cue, which is the mode down here, which, again, a very important feature for battle DJs. And then the third mode on this first pad here is pitch play, which you get to by hitting mode, shift, and this pad here. So now, and just to reiterate as well, so with the pitch play, it'll be a bit more obvious. If I hit this button here, it takes you to the second page. So you do have, hitting that button there is like having all 8 pads. It literally just takes you to the second page. So then that was pitch play. So to go back to the normal pitch, hit that first button there, and then that is the normal pitch that this tune should be played at. So then lastly, if you hold mode, shift, and double tap any of these pads, it takes you into user mode. So I've just used the first pad over here for the example there, but just to let you know about the actual pad modes going across. So you've got roll, Q loop and slicer loop on this button here. You've got auto loop and saved flip on this button here. And then the third one along here is the sampler there, or the scratch bank or transport mode on that button there. And of course, everything that I've said about these buttons here, the same applies to these 4 buttons over here. Now, before I round this off with the inputs and outputs, just to let you know, this DJM-S5 does have a broadcast feature, which basically means that you don't need another audio interface to use this mixer when you're streaming. So within Serato, you can actually hit a button within the settings menu, which means that everything coming out of this mixer goes through Serato in the software and then goes directly into your streaming software, such as OBS or something similar. So there's no need to sort of come out of the inputs and outputs into a separate audio interface. And it also means that you don't need another computer to stream with, because you can actually stream with the same one that you're DJing with. I think that this is a really cool feature and a really important feature. We've seen it on a few Serato controllers that have come out recently, with streaming being very, very popular. You know, it became popular over the lockdown and still is popular for a lot of DJs now. I think that this is a really important feature. Now, finally, inputs and outputs. This DJM-S5 has got 2 headphone inputs. It's got the larger 1/4-inch jack and then the smaller 3.5mm. The headphone level adjust and the mix, so what you're actually listening to in the headphones, is over here. And then this little mini crossfader here is what channel you're actually listening to in the headphones. It's also got that plastic crossfader adjust that I mentioned earlier. And then it's got an aux in with the level on the front. And then it's got a single microphone with the mic level on the front. So if we just have a look at the back now, you can see the 2 USBCs that I mentioned earlier. Then you've got XLR master out. You've got RCA booth out. And then you've got the phono and line combo inputs for channel 2, channel 1. And then the aux input is an RCA. And then finally on the end there, the microphone in is a combi input, so you can either use an XLR or a 1/4-inch jack. So there you have it. That is the brand new Pioneer DJ DJM-S5 Battle Mixer for Serato. As I said, I am so hoping that this is going to be dual compatible with rekordbox. I don't know why it wouldn't be, considering that the S7 and the S11 are. But then, of course, I said that about the Rev 7. Still waiting for that compatibility, please, Pioneer DJ. But, you know, for the price point that this DJM-S5 sits at, I mean, we kind of were expecting it to come out. We've seen other mixers around this price point, and it makes sense that Pioneer DJ hopped on and did a kind of entry-level scratch mixer. But this does have some pretty cool features. I love the color combo. I have to say, like, that is really eye-catching. And that little see-through plastic bit at the front, like I said, I mean, it's not essential, but I do think that, you know, that's a nice little touch. The fact that this thing is USB-C bus powered as well is, I think that that's a wicked feature, especially as the majority of laptops these days are USB-C. It saves using the USB converter or the dock or whatever you're using. I mean, I've got about 1 million of them kicking around in my DJ bag because I use an older MacBook. And even though there are quite a lot of features on this mixer, it's a shame that there isn't a screen, because you might get a bit confused about which pad mode you're on or sort of which effect you're on. But I think that if this did have a screen on it, like we saw on the S9 or on the S7, I'm not talking about the big whopper screen on the S11, I'm talking about the little sort of screen here. I don't think then that this would be able to be USB bus powered. It would probably have to be plugged into mains. Don't quote me on that though, that's just something which I reckon. So all in all, I mean, yeah, as far as sort of entry-level battle mixers go, this DJM-S5 does tick all the boxes. I mean, to be fair, I don't really think that there's such a thing as an entry-level battle mixer, but if there was, then, you know, this is sort of perfect. So this mix is really good for someone that might have learned on the Pioneer DJ DDJ Rev 1 controller. That is an entry-level controller, and it's got this battle style sort of mixer layout. So then after using that, if you didn't want to jump up to like the DDJ Rev 7 and you actually wanted to go turntables, this mixer would be a perfect kind of step up. So I'm going to leave it there anyway, gang. Look, if you found this review helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the DJKit YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you get alerted when a new video comes out. I've been quite busy over there recently. We've got quite a lot of cool stuff going on, and there's definitely a video in there that would interest you. Of course, share this with anyone who might be in the market for a new battle mixer, or maybe looking to get into sort of the battle mixer layout if they've already got a pair of turntables or something similar. Also, let me know in the comments, what do you think of this DJM-S5? Do you think that this is something which needed to come out from Pioneer DJ, or were you hoping for something else, or are you still hoping for something else? I mean, I know that I am hoping for dual compatibility for that Rev 7, which I'm hoping in years to come, when I look back on all these videos, I'm going to be like, it's here and I'm using it. But still, I'm going to leave it there. Until next time, guys, you take care. Peace.